listening to
Clear the Mechanism.
The Robby Rose Show.
The Robby Rose Show.
All right, what is going on, guys? So I haven't talked to you guys in a while. It is what is it? November 25th. I think the last episode was 2 weeks ago. So as I mentioned 2 weeks ago on that last Q&A pod, was like a lot of things, a lot of moving parts in my career, my life, my journey right now. So it's a little bit more difficult for me to book an interview and have a guest on and kind of go go with the typical podcast setup. So hopefully you guys don't mind these Q&A pods. I think they're actually really good opportunities to highlight some pretty popular questions that I get often. So just to update you guys real quick, and this is not for me to sit here and brag by any means, but I just want to update you guys. If you didn't know, I started my my bullpen progressions. I think a lot of you understand where I'm coming from as far as the injury standpoint and the surgery and all of that. So exciting times here in in my journey. I had the first bullpen went about 80%, was up to about 93. Second bullpen went probably 90-95%, was up to 95. And then the other day I was supposed to have another bullpen, got turned into a flat ground instead and got her up to 97 with the Diamond Kinetics ball. I'll link all of those pieces of content in the show notes if you want to go check those out. But speaking of Diamond Kinetics ball, great segue into them being a sponsor of the show, sponsor of my brand. So if you guys are interested in the Diamond Kinetics ball, go ahead and head to the show notes, therobbyroseshow.com/QAPod7, QAPOD7. So what I'll put in the show notes as well is obviously you can claim a discount for the Diamond Kinetics ball, but you can also see the content in which I was testing it with a Rapsodo, with a pocket radar, with a stalker radar gun, and it's pretty dang awesome. And I will say, I've partnered with great companies. I've had the opportunity to test a lot of products and pitch trackers and all of that for the price. Diamond Kinetics ball, $100, and you're getting what we found was an estimate of maybe 2 to 4, maybe 2 to 5 miles per hour within a pocket radar and within a stalker and even a Rapsodo. But the accuracy of the spin rate, the spin axis, the spin direction, all of that is really, really close to the Rapsodo. And you're looking at a Rapsodo unit, which is $3,000 compared to a Diamond Kinetics ball, which is $100. My discount, I think, takes it down to 80, maybe 85 or something like that. So head to the show notes, claim your discount, or just go to the Diamond Kinetics website. I'm sure you can find that Google just Diamond Kinetics, and head to their website and just use discount code ROBBY10, ROBBY10, to get a discount on that. But like I said, I'll include all the content from the last 2 weeks in the show notes in case you missed it. A lot of cool things happening. I'm actually going to throw a bullpen tonight. It's going to be my last pen, and then I'm driving back to California. And yeah, you guys guessed it. I will be on the mic in the car doing a little Robby Road show. Haven't had one of those in a while. Those are always fun. So we're going to do a little Q&A podcast today. We're going to hammer about 4 questions, and then I think I want to do a little bit of freestyling. I've gotten a lot of questions here in the past few weeks now that I've started my throwing progression on a bullpen. So it just gives me a good opportunity to highlight some freestyle stuff. So first question we're going to hammer home today is this individual is a current senior in high school and currently about a week and a half into a velocity cycle. Seen major decrease in velocity as he's throwing 6 days a week. Is this normal during a cycle like this? It's a really good question, right? Because it's an alarming thing, because obviously when you're going into a velo cycle, the one thing that you want is added velo. The one thing you don't want is a decrease in velo, right? So obviously I think anytime we talk about velo and we talk about these cycle type, training environments, we have to look at, it being variable thing. Like there's tons of things that could be possibly, occurring. You mentioned that you're throwing 6 days a week. So, for me to look at that, it's, what was your throwing before that, right? Are you going into the 6 day a week throwing regimen, having only thrown like 3 to 4 days a week? What does your load look like, as far as like your total weekly load? Because remember, man, like the arm is an organism in the body, and it is very adaptable. But especially when you mention you're only a week and a half into it, you got to kind of look at the big picture, right? You can't expect a ton of, increase if you're drastically changing the load. And when I say load, I mean like the actual, daily activity for the arm, or even just for the body in general, right? So it's a tough question. But when I would, you ask like, is it normal? I don't know if it's normal or not. I think you got to make the executive decision on yourself and kind of look at the big picture and be like, okay, well, I'm a week and a half into it. I've seen a decrease in velocity. Why am I seeing that decrease, right? And, if it's me and I'm coming off of like a senior season where, I threw X amount of days a week, like I mentioned before, and then all of a sudden I drastically increase my work, I think, that's how the body responds is, the power output gets decreased a little bit in that adaptation period. So, obviously I don't think there's a cut and dry answer like yes or no. I think you just gotta, if you like the program that you're on, stick to it, dude. I've talked a lot about this before as far as velocity not being a linear progression, so I would say stick to it. It depends on, obviously there's a ton of different variables, right? But like if you're having pain throughout this because your arm's not really, adapting and getting used to it, then that's a totally different conversation that you got to have. But if you're kind of just experiencing a little bit of dead arm because you're not like optimizing your, mechanics, and you're solely focused on, intent purposes right now, rather than really optimizing energy storages throughout your body, that, then it kind of changes the conversation again. So, I hope that helps. I know there's not really, like I said, not a really cut and dry black and white answer there, but it's your arm, man. You only got one of them. So just be smart with it. See how it's progressing throughout this. Cause like I said, I know the arm, at least throughout my career, man, it's been so adaptable to the stress and the environment that you put it through. So, hopefully by the time you get this, I know it's been a couple days, that things are going a little bit better. But yeah, man, hopefully that helps. And, best of luck to you, brother. And just to piggyback off that even a little bit more, I just want to make sure that we're comprehending that there's tons and tons of physical components to this, but, not everyone talks about the mental component to velocity. And I think for me in my career, and for me where I'm at right now, it's a lot of a mental standpoint too. There's a huge mental piece to it, like fully believing in your ability to increase your velocity every single day, trusting that you're putting in the right amount of work, that you're working smarter towards achieving your goal, and fully believing that it's going to happen. Now, the individual that asked the question was saying that he's throwing 6 days a week. I don't know how much of his intensity is those 6 days a week. It is early in his week, and I know there's an adjustment period to be had. So, that's where I kind of believe that we need to take a step back, especially when we're on these quote unquote velocity cycles, and check to see like, okay, is my arm just getting adjusted to this new sensory input? Or am I just like breaking down because of the stresses? Am I breaking down because of the stresses on my arm because I haven't optimized my delivery yet, and all I'm trying to focus on is intent? So I'll link an article that I wrote on optimizing the delivery, and I talk about that as far as, let's optimize the delivery before we think all just intent. Because intent, you'll see gains, but they're not long-lasting gains. because you haven't optimized the moving parts of the delivery. So again, I'll link that in the show notes for you guys, therobbyrowshow.com/QApod7 if you haven't checked that out yet. But the only reason I elaborate on this so much, and I'm doing it right now, I'm probably like repeating myself, but I don't care because it's such a hot topic. Like velocity is such, it has to be, right? Like if you're a baseball player and you're an aspiring pitcher and you want to pitch in the big leagues, you are now forced to just flood your brain with velocity, because it's not a secret, that in order for those goals to be obtained, for your dream to become put into fruition, you have to throw hard. So there should be a lot of emphasis on it, and I completely understand. It's funny because I get frustrated sometimes when I get questions over and over again from 12-year-olds saying, hey, I throw 65, is that good? I get frustrated, but like, shoot, man, if I was 12 and I knew where the game was at right now, I would be asking those questions. I can't sit here and say that I wouldn't. Freaking A. Those are good questions. Like, where are you at? I get it. So now that these quote unquote velocity cycles are becoming more mainstream, I think it's important to really dive into the concept of, are we going through this velocity cycle to train just velocity intent, be intentional about going at max effort? That's great. But are you thinking about the optimization of your delivery and the way that you throw the ball before you dive into this cycle? Because I think, there's obviously layers of velocity, and I just wrote a big piece on literally all my velocity content. And, there's so many different pieces to the puzzle that I think we need to optimize, and that's not to say like, hey, freaking A, man, like you got a lot of work to do and you get overwhelmed and then therefore you don't do it. Like, no, you do it. Like, don't get overwhelmed. It's just like, hey, there's multiple pieces to the puzzle. And, if you want to obtain high power output and you want to be a guy that throws hard, then show me you're going to be that guy by checking these boxes within delivery. I think in the article that I wrote, I had like 4 or 5 tiers to velocity. Again, I'll link that in the show notes, but it was, now that I'm sitting here trying to think of it off the top of my head, I can't remember, but there's multiple pieces to optimizing the delivery or just, increasing in velocity, and everyone's going to go about it differently. So, hopefully I elaborated on that enough. I apologize if I repeated myself, but what are you going to do? So, second question of today's Q&A podcast is, how many days should I wait before long tossing again? For example, if I long toss today, when should be the next day that I long toss? So before I give you guys my answer to this question, I do want to talk about the long toss content that I do have right now. There's a free PDF that I'm offering right now. It's I'll link the PDF in the show notes. But I have a ton of long toss content right now, tons of long toss content, because dude, long toss saved my life, and it's a huge piece. So, if you're not a long toss guy, it's not a, end all be all, but if you want to get more information on long toss, be sure to go to the show notes, robbyrowshow.com/QApod7, and pick up your free copy of that PDF that is long toss and pull down, and all of that's basically like an instruction PDF on how I go about it and kind of some of the things that I'm thinking about when I am long tossing. So head over to the show notes, pick that up, and better equip yourself to get better. Yeah. All right. Let's hear my answer. Like a lot of questions regarding, pitching. There's not going to be any absolutes, right? There's not going to be, hey, if you do this program and follow it to a T, you're automatically going to gain velocity, arm strength, arm health, and all of the other things. When it comes to long tossing, I'm going to piggyback off what Alan Jaeger taught me. Is it's going to be all listening to your arm, man. And I know that's so vague, and I apologize. I really do want to provide answers for guys that are seeking them out, and I really want to help. But anytime it comes to the arm, dude, like your arm's going to respond differently to long toss than mine does, and mine's going to respond differently to the next guy's. And the only way that we can really design the very best program is if we completely individualize it based on, what our arm needs. So, I remember specifically like getting ready for one season, my arm had felt like the best it's ever felt, and I didn't restrict it based on, I long tossed 2 days in a row, I better not long toss again. Like, no, I literally would just base my throwing program off like how it was feeling and what it needed to do that particular day. If that was quote unquote long tossing 7 days a week, then that was that, and I mean, it's such a fine line that we walk, right? Because we do want to be smart. We don't want to get hurt, but I echo this all the time as far as like the arm being completely and just so good at adapting to the stress that you give it. The arm needs stress. So I know there's not a really cut and dry answer there. So the only piece of encouragement that I could provide, man, is just be completely and super attentive and super mindful of how your arm is feeling every day, like what protocols you have in place, and then how is it recovering, and just kind of develop a really good system that really just best equips your arm to not only grow through this period but to recover and be healthy. So I know you said like, hey, if I long toss today, when should be the next day I long toss? And that's a really simple question, right? But there's no really simple answer to that. I apologize again, but like I said, biggest piece of encouragement, man, is just be mindful of how your arm is recovering, how it's responding to the specific stress, and I think it also depends on what you're actually training for and getting ready for, and what is your overall goal as well. If you want to sign up for a consult, I'll include the consult link within this email, and we can dive a little bit deeper and kind of hammer out those questions and get some answers and hopefully base a program off what your overall goal is. Because no offense, I don't know you, I don't know what your goal is, I don't know what age you are. Like, I just got the question and trying to answer it the best of my ability. So I'll include that link for you, dude. But hopefully what I said made sense. Gosh darn it, I played that back, and I remember when I sent that email back to the kid, it was like 4 a.m, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll get to some emails today, and 4 a.m, and that's why I sound like I was dead. And I'm sorry for not bringing the energy in that email. I'd probably gonna have to shoot that kid another email and say, dude, I'm sorry, I need to bring the energy. Third question: I've drifted in and out of thoughts of hanging up the cleats, and I just don't know what to do. I love baseball, but I'm at the point where I have to think about what's most beneficial for me at this point in time. Like, is it worth it? What are some recommendations, tips, anything you have that can help me make my decision? So right off the bat, right, like this is a real life question. I think we all dream of playing this game for such a long duration, and then the real world hits, and it's like, holy smokes, I still love the game, but I got bills to pay, I got, a job opportunity, I got a wife and kid. Like, there's so many variables that can intervene, within your journey in this game. And, it sucks because we all want to play the game for as long as we can. But, at the same time, we have to be realistic. We have to be realistic in how we approach, our overall life. Because as much as I say baseball is life, it's not. There's more important things to life than that. So let's hear the answer that I had in response to this question. For me, it's different, man. For me, the game of baseball, when I look at life, right, and I perceive life, I perceive it as I have every right in the world to seek out enjoyment. And I'm going to do whatever I can possibly do to make sure that I'm enjoying the life that I'm living. And at an early age, I identified that, it's going to be baseball. Like, baseball brings about the most enjoyment that I could possibly do, whether it be like actually playing the game or just around your teammates or just everything that kind of, comes with it. That's enjoyment for me. That's fun. I am my very best version of myself when I am playing the game or when I'm just around the game. So that to me was my tell sign that was like, okay, I got to do whatever I can to be around this game, and obviously that's going to be different for everyone. I always encourage people to like really look deep down and ask yourself, like, do I love this? Is it worth this grind? Because dude, you know better than anyone how much of a freaking grind it is, like you go through things that you never want to go through, but you go through them because you love the game, and I know you asked, like, is it worth it? I can't answer that for you, man. Like, that's going to be, obviously the question that you have to answer. All I can do is kind of let you know or let you in on some of my decisions and why I made those decisions and why I continue to make those decisions is because I'm at my fullest, dude, when I'm surrounded by this game. The injury process for me is always brutal because I'm taken away from the one thing, not the one thing I love, but like a really big component to my life, and you lose your identity through that. But yeah, man, I know that's, like I said, there's not a yes or no or a do this, do that answer, but hopefully that makes sense, man. Hopefully I can provide any type of encouragement, dude. But I wish you the best of luck. I really do, man. I know how much of a grind that is because you do something for so long, your entire life, and then you kind of start seeing the closing credits or the ending credits to it, and you don't necessarily want it to happen, but life goes on, right? So I would consult with your family and your closest friends and ask the same question you asked me, and try to develop an idea and really understand, how much you do love this game. Because here's the other thing, dude, and this is something that I've told a couple people when talking about this subject is like, are you ever going to be young again? Are you ever going to have the opportunity to continue to play this game? You know what I mean? Because, dude, as soon as you're done, right? Like, we hear very little of guys having that second chance and coming back. So that's another thing to look at, because once this thing's over, it's over, So I would always say squeeze the most out of your youth as possible because that's what I'm freaking doing, man. No doubt about it. But hopefully that helps, brother. Let me know if you need anything else, and best of luck to you. God bless. That's it's the real world. It's crazy. But all right, so fourth and final question of today's Q&A podcast. So the individual writes, I threw my first pull downs of the season the other day and was expecting some decent numbers. Instead, they were worse than my velocity for the end of last season off a mound. Do you have an explanation for this? So before I dive into this topic, this question, as far as velocity and in pull downs, it's tough because we put, like I said in the very beginning of the show, is like we put so much emphasis on velocity, and it's the human instinct to essentially like get discouraged when we're not at a certain level that we work towards. The trick, not necessarily like a trick, but the greats, the best to ever do it, find a way to focus solely on the things that they can control, and that's it. Like, the emphasis is on putting in the work, trusting that you put in the efficient work to accomplish goals and complete tasks, that you're going about it the right way. And I know this is so easier said than done, but having the ability to trust that, and then when you go to perform or test, the work you've put in, and it's not where you want it, if you don't have that trust, then you're going to have doubt, and doubt leads to obviously not fun. It's not fun at all. So, I just wanted to elaborate on that, but I do want to include some pieces of content of on pull downs in the show notes. So if you are someone that's really interested in, learning more about pull downs, be sure to go check out the show notes, therobbyrowshow.com/QApod7 to go check that out. I'll include that. But let's hear my answer. Yo, what up, dude? So, great question. Yeah, obviously, I think we've all kind of been there within our journey where I know specifically for me, dude, after I got drafted, I spent the first offseason for the first time in my whole entire life. I started lifting weights, and I was like, oh man, I lift so many weights, dude. I'm going to come back and I'm going to be throwing so much harder because I'm so much stronger. And then the first week of throwing at pretty high intent, I didn't see any gains, dude. And it was tough because, you take a toll mentally, right? Because you're putting all this work in and you're not seeing, you're not seeing anything really positive coming from that. So the thing that I want to really touch on and elaborate on and encourage you with, man, is anytime that we talk about velocity, right? Anytime we talk about those gains, man, those are not linear. And it's so tough because everything else in some way or some type of fashion is a linear progress when you do work hard, right? You're supposed to see gains when you do put in the work, but and I'm not saying velocity isn't always like that, but it's tough, dude, because when you come to me and you say, hey, I only threw one session of pull downs and they were at this speed, that's a very small sample size to go off of. So I would just encourage you, man, stick with the progress or the process, man, because just because you threw one time and they were low doesn't mean that's gonna define you. Keep putting in the work, man, and keep just keep doing the things that you can control, because look, I mean, I know obviously it's worrisome. That's why you reached out. You're making sure that you're doing everything you can, and I respect that, but just know that velocity is not a linear progression. That there's been multiple times in my career, dude, where I have been in a good routine. I started seeing velocity increase, and then a random day out of a month program, I'd go to pull down or do a run and gun or whatever, and it was 5 miles an hour less than just the last week. So there's a lot that goes into it, man. There's a lot of variables when it comes to velocity. So I would just encourage you to keep on keeping on, man. Keep doing the right things. Keep working hard. Keep controlling the things that you can, dude, and good things will happen. So keep me updated. Let me know, how the next round of stuff goes, because if you keep doing the same type of program that you're doing and you're not seeing the velocity gains that you want, then maybe that's time to take a look at the program and see if there's anything we can get in there and tinker with and see, form wise, or if there's any leakage within the actual delivery. If you have a breakdown, that's when we can get more hands on. But yeah, man, hopefully, your next few pull downs or your velocity days go really well. And I know that's a common question a lot of guys have. So I appreciate you reaching out and answering that or asking that. Best of luck to you, brother. All right, guys. So that's going to do it for today's Q&A pod. What I got for you guys in the show notes, therobbyrowshow.com/QApod7. I got you guys all of my content from my recent bullpens, velocity days or whatever. First bullpen, second bullpen, 97 mile an hour flat ground, if you want to go check out that and see where I'm at as far as my progress. I also got a velocity page for you guys, basically everything I have on velocity, talking about optimizing the delivery. That's another article I've included. And then the free PDF to download on long toss instruction. And then one more on pull downs. So if you guys, I get a lot of questions as far as hey, will you look at my mechanics and stuff like that? I just want to elaborate on my service as far as a mechanical analysis. I'll include in the show notes if you're interested in doing something like that, signing up for an analysis. I have a preview, and it'll give you essentially everything to expect when you do sign up for an analysis, because I know a lot of people kind of question okay, is it worth it? It's a one-time payment, and then I get one analysis. And I talk about all the time as far as the importance behind identifying specific deficiencies, so then we can optimize our process and our plan, right? Because the most important thing in pitching like development for me personally is optimization of the delivery. Like I said earlier when we were talking about velocity as far as like intent goes, it's like let's optimize the delivery, your specific delivery first and foremost, to make sure that we're getting the most out of our body, and then we'll add that layer of intent on, right? So for me in my analysis service, it was like the reason why I wanted an analysis service on my website was to provide that bridge as far as like, okay, I know that I'm not reaching my goals right now. I have velocity goals, I have like, command goals, and I have all these goals, but I don't have a plan. I don't have a process that will best equip me to get to those goals, to accomplish those goals. So for me is like, I try to be that bridge. I try to, identify those specific deficiencies within a delivery to, give you guys a plan and a process to best optimize that. So like I said, I'll link the analysis preview that I just created in the show notes as well, so you can go check that out. But yeah, guys, as always, much love. If you're a new listener, I love you too. If you're a lifelong listener, I love you more. If there's anything mentioned in this podcast that you think someone that can benefit from, I would highly encourage you and just ask of you, please share that with someone, because that's the whole goal for me. That's honestly the foundation of everything that you see me doing from a content standpoint is solely based on influencing and affecting as many individuals as I possibly can, and that goes. That goes on you too, as a listener, as a follower, or whatever. Like, you help that awareness as well. So, like I said, I got all that stuff in the show notes for you guys. I appreciate you guys. Much love. God bless. And until next time, your boy's out. See you guys.